We've got our latest GBNews People's poll revealing just how uphill things are for the government. The Conservatives lagging way behind on the economy. Just 16% of people saying a Tory government would better manage the UK's finances. Double that number believing Labour will do a better job, 32%. Then when asked about who they would vote for in the next general election, 50% saying Labour, just 21% saying Conservative. Perhaps much for them to digest at Chequers at the moment. Let's get the thoughts now of Benedict Spence, who's joining us, political commentator. And Benedict, clearly this might be some kind of crisis meeting at Chequers, not just talking about the tax issue of Zahawi and then Dominic Raab, but how the government tries to plot its way forward.
Certainly. I suppose the thing is, if there was a ray of sunshine, Rishi Sunak would be saying, well, you can take a look at quite how far behind Keir Starmer was behind Boris Johnson in the polls at one point over the last 2 years, and quite how quickly that was able to reverse itself. And that was done, not because actually Keir Starmer was a particularly formidable opponent. That happened because of Conservative fumbles, dropping the ball in the case of Boris Johnson and then consolidating it quite badly with the Liz Truss administration. So it is within the gift of the Tory party, he will argue, to win support back, because Keir Starmer isn't actually, he's not lighting a fire in anybody's stomachs. He's just not the Conservatives. But, of course, the main obstacle that Rishi Sunak has to then get over is his own party, is his own party's record over a decade in government. Some would say his own record whilst Chancellor. And, it can't be helped at all when you have allegations of bullying against senior party figures and you have allegations of financial wrongdoings for senior party members as well. It all just contributes to the image that this is a party that the Prime Minister is not in control of and that is sort of limping towards the finish line of the next general election.
Yeah, I mean, we were told that perhaps the considerations at Chequers today would be this 5-point plan to try and get that back in the public eye. But the problem is it's not about policy at the moment. It is about personality, from Liz Truss and Boris Johnson, then to obviously Dominic Raab, Nadeem Zahawi, and on it goes. And clearly the problem for the Prime Minister is if he's seen to have failed to have acted on either Raab or Zahawi, it has direct consequences for him.
It does, but the problem is if you start dispensing with every Tory, every senior minister or every Tory MP who's ever done anything wrong, Mr Sunak will find very quickly that his majority, such as it is frittered away. He will end up making a lot of enemies. You've got to remember these are two big beasts in the Tory party. These are people who had leadership aspirations as well. You can try to sack them. You can try to get rid of them, as has happened with Boris Johnson. It doesn't mean that they go away. It just creates, that pool of resentment on the backbenches. We're already seeing, aren't we, Liz Truss sort of touting herself as a sort of a Cassandra, trying to, convince everybody that she was correct and that she just got the timings wrong and that her way of thinking is the right one. So if you're Sunak, you're in a really difficult position where you cannot be seen to be doing nothing with these people. There has to be action taken, but can you actually risk your party turning on you? They've already done in two prime ministers over the course of the last year, and Mr Sunak is not the most popular candidate in the first place.
Indeed, they've got a bit of previous, as the expression goes. But, I mean, looking at how they sort themselves up, part of the problem, of course, as we're moving pretty quickly towards not just local elections, but then a general election, the party chairman is the person that you look to actually galvanise and get the strategy together. And he's a lame duck at the moment.
He is, and it must be a real disappointment, actually, to Rishi Sunak, because actually Nadeem Zahawi is probably one of the few ministers who emerged from the Boris Johnson era, if not with his record intact, then certainly with it, if not with it enhanced, then certainly with it intact. The legacy of the vaccine rollout, he didn't do a bad job as Education Secretary, or certainly he didn't do any worse than the previous Education Secretary. So that must come as a real blow to now potentially be having to lose what is actually quite a capable minister. But that's the thing. It's 2 years until the next general election, and realistically it's not 2 years because they're not going to hold one in the depths of January in 2025. And they have to sort out not just the economy, but the migration crisis. They have all manner of things that are currently on the in tray. And the problem is, correctly, the public will look at them and say, well, what have you actually done differently that the Labour Party wouldn't have done? Why bother voting for a Conservative government if you're just going to enact what are essentially Labour policies? And that, I think, is what a lot of people see from things like the economy, where the tax burden is at its highest in living memory, to things like immigration, where we have record numbers and no sign of that abating.
Yeah, indeed. Our People's poll for GB News indicating, of course, they believe that maybe Labour has got the political or the economic competence to deliver as well. But Benedict, thank you very much indeed for your views on that.